If you're new to video editing and have no idea where to begin or even start, I'm going to show you the most basic form of video editing, and that's trimming out all of the footage that you don't need, whether it's somewhere you messed up or something that you just need to take out. I'm going to show you how to take that out using jump cuts and even how to hide some of those jump cuts so it's not so obvious. And we're going to do all that in iMovie. Before we jump into iMovie, a couple tricks for when you are shooting your footage. Say you're doing a talking head footage like we're doing right now. Make sure that you stay center framed with the camera and you're not starting off here and then veering off over here, because if there's a part where you mess up, then you may be starting right here, trimming out that part where you messed up, and then you're going to be over here and it's just going to look like, hey, they messed up. They made an obvious jump cut there. May not look as professional, but there's ways that we can maybe get around that a little bit until you get comfortable with talking to the camera, because with this video intro, I probably redid about 10 different times. So we're all not going to get it all the way through without making a mistake. But if you do, just keep recording and then we can trim that out. That way you don't have to keep redoing the video every time, and it's just going to take a lot longer than actually needed. So let's go ahead and jump into iMovie. And you'll see right here, up here, I already have a couple clips preloaded in, and this is the main talking head one that I want to edit. You'll see that it is 58 minutes. I think the final video of this ended up being like 13 minutes long. So there was a lot of stuff that I had to edit out. So I'm going to take it, drop it down here, and then to zoom in, because that's a lot to try and deal with, we're going to either use this right here off to the side, zoom in and zoom out. Or on your keyboard, if you want to zoom in, Command plus, and zoom out is Command minus. And then that'll just help you if you really need to zoom in to get an accurate cut where your audio is. Zooming in further can really help you out with that. So what I like to do is start at the beginning and just go through and wait for any of the audio to go up, because that's when I know I'm starting to talk. And just see, obviously right here, I'm just doing some mic testing right here. And starting an intro, but I mess up. Again, you can see right here, there's a lot of pause. So I know that's probably not where my main intro is. Just because I've already done this, I know my best intro that I wanted to use didn't come in until about 13 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to that 13-minute mark where I know I have my main intro. So about right here, you can see I messed up quite a few times right here, paused, and then had quite a bit of talking head. So that's where my main intro was. So I want to cut that 13 minutes prior completely out of here. So there's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to zoom in by hitting Command plus, and I want to start the clip right before I start talking. So I'm going to hover over that, click on it right there, make sure the playhead is right where I want it. And you can either right click and hit split clip, and then it splits it off to where you can select this and just hit delete. And then it brings it all the way back to the beginning, but just has where you wanted to start. Anytime you make a mistake and say you accidentally delete something or accidentally make a break somewhere, to undo, a shortcut is Command Z, and it'll undo the last action, and then just hit it again, and you'll see it bring it back right to where we were. So again, another way to edit this out is to select it and then hit Command B. So just remember Command B for break, because we want to break it right there, and it breaks it for us. And then we can select this, delete that, because we don't need that first 13 minutes and 48 seconds. So this is where my intro starts. We're going to be taking a look at this. So I'll kind of zoom out a little bit, and then anywhere there is a pause, and like right there, I know that's probably something that I made a mistake or just need to edit out. So I'll listen through it. I think it sounds awesome. Good enough that I bought. So this is probably something I don't want in my clip. So I'm going to edit this section out. So I'm going to highlight right there, hit Command B, come over to right where I start talking again, hit Command B again. And I'm just going to select this middle piece and delete it out. That I bought 2 of these microphones. So that's basically your form of editing that you're going to do. And that's how you're going to trim down your whole video footage down to everything that you need. And then we're going to go ahead and keep scrolling down to another area, probably about right here, $100. They almost sound So right there's where I messed up. They're not quite as good as a Shure SM7B, but so I know I want to kind of come back $100. They almost sound, they're not quite as good. So I want to edit, say maybe right here, I want to take this part out, Command B, come over here right before I start talking, Command B, select this, delete. $100. They're not quite as good as a Shure SM. And that's a pretty nice transition right there. And you'll see that through here, I'm looking down and then all of a sudden, bam, it transitions and I'm looking up where I made the cut. And so we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to hide that, but we'll have to make another cut right here and the fact that you can buy. So let's just, for time's sake, go ahead, Command B here, and we want to delete that. Okay. So to hide the jump cut right here and to hide the one right here, so it's not just me making an obvious cut right there. Again, it's not too bad since I stayed in the main position most of the time. Center frame didn't move around too much, but there is, the fact that you can buy. I am making a cut right there. So to hide that, I'm going to take this middle clip right here, and then I'm going to come up to this little crop tool right here, and then I'm going to go to crop to fit, and I'm actually just going to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to, and it can be any way you want to. So whether if you just want to make a minor zoom effect or not, this is just going to make it to where it seems like you're zooming in on the camera and not just doing a jump cut. And that's kind of a cool way, an easy way to hide that transition. So since I want to get the microphone in the picture, I'm going to kind of do it right there like that. I'm going to hit OK. So we're going to see what this looks like with that $100. They're not quite as good as a Shure SM7B, but sound pretty darn close. And the fact that you can buy 4 of these. Okay, so that's kind of a nice transition. It's, yeah, you could tell there's a jump cut there, but again, it seems a little more professional by doing that zoom effect right there. So I know there's a little bit of this clip that I want to take out. So instead of going through here, hitting Command B, you can also go to the end of the clip and then drag it to the left to delete, you know, however much of it you need. Close. And the fact that you can buy 4. And then same thing, if you needed over here, if you needed to maybe bring something back in or move it, adjust it, you can adjust it that way too. So that is close. And the fact that you an easy way to go between the scenes. I'm not going to get it too neat right now. So this is just one way to hide. They're not quite as good again. And then if we move along, you'll see that there's another big pause right here, top of it. And the only reason I have, all right, so I know that I want to delete that space. So I'm going to jump cut right there. And I don't need this little and that I have right here, just because that's not going to fit in right. So I'm going to come right before then, do another break, delete, top of it. The only reason I have the windscreen on this one is so, all right, so that's another cut area and then windscreen. So it is, all right, so I know I'm going to need a cut right there. Zoom out a little bit. And then this is where I start talking again. So I'm going to zoom in, make a cut right there, delete that. The microphone itself is of really, okay, cool. So obviously you see there is a noticeable cut right here. The microphone itself. So I'm going to do another zoom in option right here. And then say, you know, if you want to make it a little bit more drastic, zoom in as much as you want. But the only reason I have the windscreen on this one is so the microphone itself is of really, and again, that's a nice way to hide those jump cuts, makes it look a little bit more professional than just leaving it to where you're having a noticeable cut. All right, so I made a couple other cuts right here. And so I'm going to show you how to add B-roll to cover a jump cut. So this is the one that I want to delete, and I want to hide this cut right here, if not even more. So starting with the build quality, so you can see my arm moves and it's a noticeable cut. So I want to hide that. So I'm going to take my B-roll and drop it over my footage right here, and I'm going to have it start right where my cut is. So then that way, or if not even more. So starting with the build, just a nice way to hide that jump cut. So it's not showing the change in your body position. It's just switching over to B-roll. So starting with the build quality, and then you're just talking over that. So as you go throughout your video and trim out all the parts that you messed up or don't need, you'll notice it'll show you every clip that you have to where you made those cuts. And this little bar right here just shows you where there's that transition that you made between the clips. And this is kind of where you can gauge where you want to start hiding those if you haven't already. So if like you have your main talking head right here, and then you want to use this as a zoom clip, and then it zooms back out right here, and then maybe you add the zoom in effect right here, have this one zoom back out, and so forth. You can do that so that way you're not zooming in several different times. You zoom in and then zoom out, but do it to however it fits your video and your liking. And then whichever ones you want to add B-roll over, that'll also help hide some of these clips that you took out as well. Now, if you do have to bring in your audio source separately, so say you have just your video going and then you have your audio separately, like it was coming from a recorder, you'll have to bring both of those in separate. So I'm going to go ahead and detach this audio just to show you. So this is what it would look like. So if you had, say, just your audio recording down here and then your video footage, you would have two separate things to do. So what you'll have to do if you're going to make a cut, you'll have to hover over where you want to make that cut and then hit Command B, and that'll do it on the video. Then you come down on the audio, kind of it'll help you line up. It'll kind of stop right there where that cut is above it. Hit Command B, and then you'll be able to cut out that audio right there. So again, Command B, and then we can delete that out. So you just delete those out separately if you have to bring in your audio in separately from the video. And the more that you do this and get comfortable with it, you'll learn that going based just off your audio waves here, you'll know when to do your jump cuts. And certain words, like when somebody says or has a mouth noise, you'll be able to recognize that spike or what that audio form looks like, and you'll be able to edit that out. And then you'll know like anywhere there's a pause right here, hey, that's where I need to edit out, so I can do a quick like that, and then it gets really easy and quick for you. So the more practice that you have with doing this, the more you'll be comfortable and become faster at it. It just takes time like anything. And one last way to hide those jump cuts is using transitions. And so you'll go up here and hit the transitions tab, and it gives you a whole bunch of different ones depending on how big of a transition or noticeable transition that you want. You can also, make it kind of cool if you want to, especially once you get into Final Cut Pro. There's a lot more transitions that you can work with. So say like I want to use this one right here. You just drag it and drop it. I think it sounds awesome. Good enough that I bought 2 of these microphones. Kind of do it. I don't like the way that one looks. So you just select it, hit delete, and just keep going through until you find the one that you like to hide your cut. Good enough that I bought 2 of these microphones. So these don't really work in this certain situation, but using transitions is another way that you can hide those jump cuts. Just find one that looks good and flows in between your 2 clips there. So hopefully this will help you get started in your video editing journey. This is the most basic form that everybody starts off with in editing, is just doing those jump cuts and trimming out the parts of the video that you don't need. Once you get comfortable with that, you can start adding in a bunch of other stuff as far as like text, titles, more transitions, everything like that. The sky's the limit when it comes to video editing, especially when you switch over to, say, Final Cut Pro. There's a whole lot of stuff that you can do over there. But this is where I learned and started basic. A lot of my old videos just have these basic transitions and stuff like that in between the cuts. But then the more experience you get, you'll find better ways to do things. But this is a great way to start editing your videos. And if you're bringing your video and audio sources in separately into iMovie, say you're doing just like your talking head with the camera and using a recorder for the audio like we went over earlier, and you're having trouble getting those to sync up, check out this video right here where I show you how to easily sync your audio in iMovie.